Yeah, $50,000, is that affordable? No. But what's the average price of a new car nowadays? $47,000. So what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to be talking about something very different for you,
Very different.
but kind of home for me, and that is surprising affordable vehicles. Now, we're not going to cover all of them. There's a lot of affordable vehicles there, but we're going to talk about the ones that are coming soon or just arrived that are surprising and yet affordable.
Let's set the stage here. Number one, when we say affordable, we're not talking like a $5,000 used Prius. The cars we're going to talk about are going to be somewhere between about $20,000 base price and about $40,000 base price.
Yeah, 20. I would say about the low 20s to low 40s really is what we're talking about if you're looking at it. And realistically, right now the average price of a car
$47,000 US.
So we're going under that, and we're finding a few of these cars that are pretty damn interesting.
I do want to add in something else because the audience knows how I feel about car debt. Mm-hmm. And just as an aside here, for those of you that say in the comments that, what do they call me, a rich entitled prick? I grew up dirt poor. Mm-hmm. I put myself through university, and I made every financial mistake in the book, then had to go fix those financial mistakes after inventing financial mistakes. And that's why I am a proponent of living a debt-free life and not financing a car, because that gets you to the point of buying the car you really want. I'd like to point out that your daughter has taken this advice, and she is killing it financially at what, 20 years old?
Not even. She's 18.
She's incredible. Pretty soon we're all going to be working for his daughter. But I bring this up because the average payment in 2019 was $570 a month, and that was on 60 months.
Right.
Now people are stretching their payments out to 84 months, 7 years, 8 years, and 9 years to get to that same 570.
All that interest.
Okay, so with that, you kick off. What is an example of an affordable car that is incredibly surprising to you that's coming out soon?
That would be the Chevy Equinox.
The EV.
I am really, really proud of GM if they can pull this off, because it's not official yet. But according to them, this is an EV that'll have the Ultium platform, so it's not the platform that they're using right now with the Bolt and the Bolt EUV.
Well, the Bolt EUV and the Bolt is an
old
older
tech
platform.
Right.
And in fairness, Ultium is PR marketing mumbo jumbo. Basically what it means is how do you package the batteries. That's
but
all
it matters. That does matter, though. And because the mass market, the more they build of these things, the less expensive they'll become. And a fine example of that is this Equinox EV, which, according to sources, is going to be around $30,000. That's for an EV that can comfortably hold 5 people with new tech and mileage that'll be close, we suspect, to 300 miles.
So set the stage for us. What size is an Equinox EV? I know what the gas one is today, but what's the size?
It's just under a midsize.
So what is that, like a Rogue in size?
Yeah, like the new Rogue. It's about that size in terms of its length. It's not quite as big. And this is a good-looking crossover, too. It's very flashy.
Even I have to admit. So Mike Simcoe, who runs design for all of General Motors, and then Phil Zach, who runs design for Chevy, the two of those guys and their teams, killing it. Absolutely killing it.
The interior looks fantastic. Very simple layout. The capacity of the vehicle is going to be equal to a mid-size.
So we're saying this is about the size of an Ioniq 5.
It is in that same territory.
And you're telling me it's going to be $10,000 to $15,000 cheaper than an Ioniq 5?
That is according to reports, but it is not official from General Motors.
So that's the surprising part about it. It's a good-looking vehicle that is undercutting, I would argue, the best EV on the market today by a significant amount. If they can bring it out at 30, 32, and here's the big provision, without the tax credit for 300 miles of range, doesn't have to be fancy, but 300 miles of range, no tax credit, unequivocal home run, especially the way it looks.
And not everybody would qualify for that. I work with people, unfortunately, who will throw that out there and just immediately throw the 7,500 or whatever in there. and oh, this is what you're actually paying. No, it's not necessarily the case. So thank you for mentioning that.
Most people, especially car salesmen, when you walk on a lot, well, you get $7,500 off from the government. You don't. It's not a discount.
Nope.
It's based on your specific tax situation.
Exactly.
I want to make sure people understand that.
Right, right. But the good news is, if you qualify for that, sometimes there's state on top of that.
Some states, they actually do give you a rebate, but some are indeed tax credits. So we need to understand this, because I don't want people rolling in thinking they're getting a $25,000 truck.
Exactly. So this could be an absolute game changer. For the price, remarkable, if they can maintain that price.
Okay, so while we're on that topic, let's talk about a related vehicle, which to me surprises me even more. And it's moving up market, and it's the Buick. Believe it or not, the Buick Envista. Have you seen this thing?
It is a smooth design, and yet it's still a Buick.
Really good looking.
Not what I expected.
So we talked about Mike Simcoe, he's the Harley Earl of General Motors, and then he's got Bob Boniface, very good friend of mine, very talented designer and proper car guy. You guys have seen him because he's the proprietor of that private car show I go every year in July.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about that coming up. Anyway, it's one of these things you and I don't understand. It's a crossover coupe. So it's like the Trax, but it's a more fast rake in the back. And the front, they've taken that front from the Wildcat concept, and it's the first car where it's not just tacked on to an existing design. They've created a design that fits that front end, and the car is beautiful. And believe it or not, that car base price is going to be $23,000 US. It's going to be pretty well equipped. They did say, and here's the huge catch, and this is going to be a big problem for your audience. I don't know about the Trax, but in the case of the Envista, only front-wheel drive.
Same with the Trax.
Oh, so they're not doing an all-wheel drive?
Right. At this time, they said there's no provision for.
And what's the engine in both of them?
It's a 1.3 liter turbocharged three-cylinder.
Yeah.
I think it's a Daewoo sourced powertrain, by the way. I think it's, or at least their engineers.
People think Daewoo has gone away. They have not.
They have not.
If anything, General Motors absorbed them and actually made them the centerpiece of their affordable car strategy.
General Motors has proven that they are still committed to building an inexpensive, decent, gas-powered vehicle or internal combustion vehicle as well.
That's the fascinating thing. General Motors, I feel, is making a major strategic blunder by basically drinking the Kool-Aid of Washington and Brussels and saying they're going to go 100% EV. They're not even saying by 2035. They're saying by 2030.
2030.
And Buick is going to be the first step in that offensive where they're going to go all EV. But what they've done with the Envista is they showed that not only can we bring something attractive, but we can bring something attractive and affordable, and that's surprising, that is based on an ICE platform. I feel that they need to do more of this, because I have zero doubt in my mind Brussels and Washington will realize the error of their ways, and they'll change the goalposts. They'll move them farther out.
I'm not going to disagree with you there, and I still say that there is so much room for a powertrain that has been proven for years and years and years, and that is a hybrid powertrain. They're very clean, and they're getting cleaner.
So, continuing in our theme of affordable cars, I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit. I'm going to go up in price.
Okay.
But still, I would argue, is significantly affordable for what it is. The basic Mazda CX-90 Turbo, not the S, 280 horsepower car, that's coming in at $40,000.
Remarkably well-built cars. Really, there's only one flaw that Mazda has. One flaw that I
Dealers?
Yeah, that's exactly
Dealers are terrible.
I'm fortunate in Colorado, and I've owned 4 Mazdas, well, between my wife and I, 4 Mazdas, for a very good reason. They're fun to drive, they're relatively reliable, and they're extremely efficient. I mean, and also, I think damn good looking. That CX-90, beautiful.
So, I drove it. Now, granted, the one I drove was a Turbo S, so that's the one that has the 340 horsepower.
Right.
It's the one I had all the stuff in it, so it was a $63,000 car. But this is one of those rare instances where you don't need the $63,000 car.
Right.
You don't need the $63,000 car for the power. You don't need the $63,000 car to make it look good. You know how you get like the basic version of a car and it gets the crappy small wheel? The $40,000 car, it doesn't look quite as good as a $63,000 car, but I don't need to spend $23,000 to make it look good, drive good, and most importantly, the way it's screwed together, it's the same. That's the fascinating part about it. And the efficiency is actually pretty good, but the biggest surprise, at $40,000, you're not going to believe me, but it drives like a BMW X7.
Well, I bet you they probably benchmarked it because
No doubt.
Mazda's been benchmarking
No doubt.
BMW for years and years, so that doesn't surprise me.
I did an episode, actually I didn't do the episode, it's the audience, they don't like it when I cut any of Dave Coleman's bits out.
Dave Coleman's a rock star.
He's a complete rock star.
He's
They
such a
like
rock
him better than they like me.
Yeah, well, yeah,
so,
me too.
It's one of those instances, you're a parent, so you understand this. Be careful what you wish for, because you will get it. And in this case, okay, you wanted more of Coleman, so I made Coleman do the whole episode. And I stayed out of the episode. They're going to see an episode of how they made it drive that way. And one of the fascinating things he shared was, here's a car that's $40,000, but they put an inline six, which gives them two opportunities. Number one, by making it an inline six, it lowers their development cost, because the development to go from a 4 to a 6 is not re-engineering an entire block. Like this, it's the same inline, but then that gives them another opportunity where they can bring the frame rails closer together, which enables them to turn the wheels more, so the car actually handles better. It drives better. You wouldn't think about that at all.
No.
And like you get behind the wheel of that thing, I said it drives like an X7, it drives better than an X7.
No kidding.
It's tuned better than an X7.
Once again, Mazda builds a car that actually bonds with the person. It's fun to drive. Every one of their cars.
So what other affordable cars are surprising to you?
Well, we did talk about going up a notch. Let's go up another notch to Mercedes-Benz.
I think I know where you're going with this.
Because Mercedes does build a surprising little crossover that's well equipped, that drives amazingly well, and is a proper Mercedes, despite the fact that it is much less expensive than its brethren. That'd be the GLC.
I drove the new one. Base price, so it was $43,000. Now it's in the high 40s. So we're talking about 40 grand gets you the Mazda. You can go up, let's call it 8-9 grand. Granted, you're getting a smaller car.
It is smaller.
But it's not just that you're paying the 9 grand for the 3-pointed star. You're paying for a couple of things. Number one, you're paying for the way it drives. I would argue it's still the gold standard in that segment. And then it's not a car that has nothing in it. It has the stuff your wife would want. It's got the power liftgate, the basic one. It's got a regular, like the small sunroof. That's fitted as standard.
Right.
Wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto fitted as standard. So the reality is, do you need the navigation? You don't need the augmented navigation.
Not if you have Apple
you don't
CarPlay.
Need it. The one I had was $65,000. But I think most folks like your wife would be totally fine with the, let's call it the $49,000 GLC.
Yep.
And yeah, $50,000, is that affordable? No. But what's the average price of a new car nowadays? $47,000.
Right, and so suddenly the premium isn't as painful if you look at it that way. And also if you want to get into that badge, that is your entry-level car right there, because it's a crossover cell, we all know that. And you're getting a quality Mercedes product. It's not some sort of, recently, not that long ago, they were sharing components with Nissan.
So what this is, it takes all of the bits from the new C-Class, because that's what it is. It is a tall C-Class. And I would argue, Mercedes, when they re-engineered the C-Class, they realized they need to go a little bit more on the composure side of driver dynamics rather than compliance with the C-Class, because they were trying to pick off more of the BMW buyer, more of the Audi buyer, and they were successful in it. So are there other affordable cars that are either coming or affordable cars that have recently come out that have surprised you?
Well, you and I briefly talked about the X1 from BMW. BMW
Talk about a surprise.
It's a really good little car.
Yeah, but you're being biased because you drive a Mini.
My wife has an older Mini Countryman, which she adores, and she tries to break the sound barrier every time she drives with it. But Mini has a certain baked-in goodness in terms of drivability. They're just fun cars to drive, and they have a very vibrant personality about them. They do. the BMW version of that, the X1, doesn't quite have that spark, but it has excellent driving dynamics. It's comfortable, and it's really well laid out. And you were driving a BMW, it feels like you're driving a BMW. It doesn't feel like you're driving a Mini, and they do drive differently.
That's the thing that surprised me about the X1, and my audience probably saw my episode on it. I was surprised by the way it drove. I was surprised that it actually is quite attractive, much more attractive than the previous one.
Much more.
But by far, the biggest surprise was, yes, it's the same platform as the Mini, but it now has the personality of a BMW the way it drives.
That's exactly what I was getting at, and I think you and I absolutely agree on that. And I believe you can get into one of those in the mid-40s.
Less.
Less? Wow.
Less. So the one I had was, again, it was stupid options. It had a crazy, like, $3,500 paint job on it. But from what I saw, you could do the equipment that you would need. It's not like the GLC. The GLC comes the right way at the basic price. Mm-hmm. This doesn't come the right way at the basic price. This comes where you still need to get a certain package to get like the sunroof or get some other stuff. And I'd say low 40s. Like, it's possible to get one with nothing in it and probably be in the high 30s, mm-hmm. but you're going to feel it. It's not going to be like the GLC where you don't feel like you're being nickeled and dimed.
Right. Which is something normally the Germans are pretty good at.
They're unusually good at. Actually, let me go in a different direction.
Sure.
Surprising, but not affordable. And let's just call it surprising. You know I am not a Ford guy.
Yep.
And as you can imagine, by extension, I am not a Lincoln guy. But they just showed that new Nautilus. It's attractive. I'm shocked how good looking it is. I'm really shocked by this unusual design on the inside of the car where it is a wraparound screen that sits low, and then there's this big screen like Ford's been doing, these big screens in the center. But there, somehow it oddly works. In the front, it's got this unique light signature.
Which I really like.
Which is nice. It's pretty. I'll give them that. The only question I have about it, it doesn't say Lincoln. It doesn't stand out. To me, it could be a nondescript Chinese car. And where is it made?
Yep.
China.
Roman went and covered it and got to just look around it and everything else. He was surprised as well. He thought it was a very attractive looking vehicle. I think Lincoln lost their way pretty much when they stopped building the town car, personally.
I would agree.
You know, I don't see Lincoln as what they are. Look, they build a luxurious car that's comfortable. Nobody can take that away from them, but they just don't look like Lincolns. Cadillacs look like Cadillacs. Lincolns don't look like Lincolns to me.
The problem with the Lincoln, that car is the price of a GLE. And are you honestly going to buy that over a GLE?
Only people who don't want to buy something that's built in Germany.
I would, well, the GLE's not built in Germany.
That's right, it's built in the United States, right?
Who went to the factory?
Yeah, okay. But I think that there's people who just have a bias who might buy something like that. There's people who just want the American stamping.
So why not buy the Mazda?
Well, you know, they're not
Mazda drive. I don't even have to drive the Lincoln to know the Mazda will drive better.
Yeah.
Mazda screwed together better, and the Mazda will have better resale.
I'm not disagreeing with any of that.
So the struggle I'm having with that one, even though I think it's very attractive, I can't see people saying no to a Mercedes, a BMW, an Acura, a Mazda to get a Lincoln. And I think it's going to continue, or Genesis. You can get a GV80 for that same money. And a GV80, wow, does that stand out. The kind of people that have been buying those Lincolns, I would argue aviators and navigators are different. Okay. People that look for those, they seek those out.
Right.
And I think they've done a great job with those. But anything else Lincoln, they're the payment buyer. They're like, I want a car that is somewhat nice. I want cooled seats. I want a fancy screen. Oh, I can get the Lincoln for $470 a month. I think that's why they buy a Lincoln. I could be wrong, but that's what I see with a Lincoln.
But there's also the die-hard Ford Lincoln fan too. There will be a few of those.
I don't understand those.
Well,
and I have not, like, I have to admit, there are Ford as a business killing it. They're one of the best companies out there. They've done a great job in taking an old world company and making themselves into an EV company, but doing it the right way. I agree,
because I mean they still have hybrids, plug-in hybrids even, and they're figuring out, people are looking, they figured out what people want. A really good example of that is something that you almost said. You almost said it. And that was the Ford Maverick, which is what a vehicle for the dough. If you can find one, which are there.
Amazing.
I mean, the hybrid is such a logical, intelligent vehicle to buy. Very inexpensive, extremely utilitarian, very economical to drive it. Even with the markups, and they're now about in the mid-20s realistically, even though they started around 20.
Yes, it's $20,000. Really, now it's $23,000.
Yeah.
But yes, it's $23,000. But that car, it drives like a $40,000 car. It has great supple ride quality.
Yeah, it's quite good.
And it is not a pile of crap on the inside.
Yeah.
Those are the two things that I took away from it.
Yeah, I was this close to buying one. You know that. When I was looking at
and you were right about the screen. I agree.
I can't stand the screen. That
totally agree with you.
That was one of the deal
killers. I
killers.
thought you were being just a nebbishy jackass when you were telling me about the screen. But then I drove the car. I'm like, I hate it when he's right.
So we're referring to the screen, which isn't much larger than a cell phone screen. And it's tilted at an unusual angle, and it's actually just kind of hard to read and not the best to use.
I feel like we're getting off the topic.
Yeah, sorry.
I want to do two things. I want to, number one, bring up surprising affordable, but give them a glimpse into another episode we're doing together.
Yes, okay.
Mercedes EQS SUV. Do you think that's affordable?
No.
Why not?
Because EQS, it's got to be ridiculously expensive. Monthly payments have got to be through the roof. It's got to be painful.
$100,000. Probably the payment is $12. Not that I'm a big fan of payments. You guys know that. $1,200 a month to lease.
I would imagine.
If we went to the Mercedes dealer down here in Torrance, how much do you think we could lease one of those things for?
14 a month. Maybe 11.
Would you be surprised if I told you 500?
Is it used?
Brand new. And they got acres of them. Why? No one's buying them. So they're doing these crazy lease specials on the EQSs and talk about surprising affordable. But that will be an episode we're going to talk about where the market is going.
Yes.
But this, I think we should turn the episode around to the audience now. And I think the question should be, what cars do they see that affordable but surprising? Either out in the market now or what you guys are seeing coming down the road.
It would be interesting to get your point of view.
Let us know in the comments below or via our social media. MotoManTV, all one word. MotoManTV, all one word. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. And with that, once again, a huge thank you to Nancy and Lyman for opening their fantastic cigar lounge to us. And they gave us, you were saying in the last episode, you got a late hour, which talk about a unicorn of a stick. They gave me the Davidoff Nicaraguan, which that one's not harsh. That one's, it's full flavor, but not full body. This has lighter notes, but it still has notes that hit you. It's a fantastic stick.
I rate a cigar based on the aftertaste about 20 minutes later, and this is just, it's an amazing taste I have in my mouth. I'd kiss you, just to let you know how good it is.
You gonna go out there and kiss Lyman right now? He's a cop.
Yeah, he is a cop.
You gonna kiss a cop, really?
I'm not gonna kiss a cop, but
He still has altitude sickness. Until I see you guys in the next episode, we see you in the next episode,
yeah.
Where can they find you?
alltfl.com, or all of our channels. We have 8 of them on YouTube, TFL Car, TFL Truck, blah, 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 a whole bunch of other ones. We're out there.
Till we see you in the next episode, bis später.